Rawan, Kayat, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Be here.
I've been very excited to have you on the show because for the longest time I've been wanting to get somebody who would discuss with me, like a thought partner on the show, all the kind of cliche bullshit that's going on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And then randomly you showed up on my LinkedIn. This is the first time you and I meet.
Yes, it is.
You had a fascinating post, which we'll pull up later on and talk about. But it turns out, like, you thrive in writing posts on LinkedIn and calling out the system. And I find that quite refreshing because LinkedIn has become a place that people don't really talk about it. They love to hate on Instagram and on Facebook. But LinkedIn has gotten a little bit more dangerous and toxic than most other social media. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think, like, in the last year, LinkedIn changed a lot. And at the beginning, I loved the change. But then now I'm kind of like, okay, but where is this going? So all of last year, whenever I open LinkedIn, all you see is people saying like, hey, I got this job, like, I'm super awesome, you know, I have this big title now and I don't know what I'm doing, and, you know, like, just bragging about job titles, success, and some of them don't mean anything, you know, it's just like job titles. And that's where my first post actually came from.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're not really following in the footsteps of graduating, finding a great job and staying in that job for 10 years where you get promoted either within the same company or within the same industry, just jumping to a larger firm or another competitor, then basically you're nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you haven't made it in life. Just, you know, go cry in your corner and, you know, like, just go pity yourself.
That's right.
And the thing is, that's really not true, because all of us who don't have that, if you want, like, standardized career path, we have a lot of things that we also have to offer, a lot of life experiences to share, a lot of things that we've done that maybe those other people didn't get the chance to do them. So I'm not saying we're more valuable or less valuable, it's just different.
Right.
And this is mostly the narrative that I always like to channel in all of my posts. Like, there's not one thing that works for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's the same in your work as it is in your personal life, as it even in your gym.
Yeah.
You know, like in fitness journeys now, everyone tells you if you eat the same food, if you exercise the same, you know, that doesn't guarantee you're going to have the same body, right? And it's the same. This goes, like, if you copy paste this into a career or a personal life, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
You and I can have the exact career path or study the same thing, but that does not mean like we're going to excel at the same job or, you know, have the same attributes or be good at the same things. And
I actually love the way you put it. And when the post that actually showed up on my LinkedIn newsfeed that you had wrote, you were a second degree connection for me on LinkedIn, but one of my first degree connections commented on it.
Yeah.
And I loved how you put it. You said there are different colors of green or different shades of green.
Yeah.
And I think you were comparing freelance, like working as a freelancer, which is glorified a lot these days, versus full-time employment, which you're back to now. Yeah. And yeah, I love the way you put it, which is like, there are different colors. You didn't say the grass is always greener. You said there are different colors of green. Yeah. Was that deliberate? Like,
yes, of course, because it's not always greener.
Yeah.
You know, because you're like, if you have a 9-to-5 jobs, and again, you open LinkedIn or you see, or you know from your friends or connections, like, yeah, you know, I want to be my own boss. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to freelance, but you don't really know anything about that life. All you see, again, because LinkedIn is just another social media platform, you only see the highlights. No one's going to talk to you about the days where they don't have clients, they're not sure how much money they're getting at the end of the month, you know, just how hard it is to actually manage your time when you don't have someone telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Okay. And on the other end, if you are someone who is a freelancer who, you know, how you have imposter syndrome because you don't know if you're good enough. Every client that talks to you, you feel like, okay, how much money am I charging him? Is it too much? Is it too little? I don't want to seem like I don't have enough experience. And you look at someone who keeps updating their job titles on LinkedIn and think, yeah, you know, the grass is greener on that side. My post was like, no, you know, it doesn't have to be greener. It's just the different shades of green.
Yeah.
A person might thrive in a corporate environment, they will maybe not do well as their own boss, and vice versa.
Yeah,
we're just
100%.
different people,
And you actually got to experience both lives. You worked
Yeah.
as a freelancer. You also worked as a full-time employee in your current job, and I guess initially in your career.
Yes, definitely.
So I really want to talk to you about that because let's talk about all the shades of green for both
Yeah.
sides of these career choices. So my first question to you is: what is Mafia Island? And what is it? Seed punch? Button punch.
Punch needle.
Punch needle. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Mafia Island is an island in Tanzania.
Okay.
So Zanzibar is like where everyone knows in Tanzania. Mafia Island is the other island no one knows about.
Okay.
It's still very not touristic. It's just a local community that really lives there. It's a great place. I went there for about 4 weeks on a volunteer program last year to volunteer with whale sharks. So yeah, that's Mafia Island.
Wait, so you volunteered with whale sharks?
Yes.
So you were doing volunteering work to like help the whale sharks there?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
elaborate a little bit.
So sure. So whale sharks are actually docile. They don't you can swim right along them and they don't do anything. They don't eat humans. They don't like us. Their throat is actually this big, so they don't come near you. They only eat small fish and plankton. So,
right.
So and they're like very not really studied as a species. So we don't know much about them. And because they don't hurt you, they get hunted a lot, and they were even. Some people even consider them maybe as endangered or not. So, so the volunteer program was mainly to do two things: encourage responsible marine encounters. So we get tourists who are coming to Mafia Island to swim with the whale sharks. We teach them how to do that properly without disturbing them in their natural habitat.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah, without actually touching them or hurting them, you can just swim along them and watch them do their own thing. And the other part of it is studying them. So whale sharks, interestingly enough, they have a pattern of like white dots on their body.
Right.
And their pattern is unique. It's like our fingerprint. Mm-hmm. So every single whale shark has a different pattern. So the way they identify them is we take pictures of the area next to their left fin, and we put them into a database that is worldwide to kind of like track all of the different whale sharks.
Like gene, how do you say it when you... I forgot the term, like the human genome program. Anyway, maybe.
Yeah, so like basically it's just to identify, like this whale shark is now in Mafia Island.
Okay.
If, I don't know, 10 years later someone photographs it in Oman, we know that they actually travel, just sort of like keeping a database
right.
of... and we don't really know much. I can spend this entire podcast.
Genetic sequencing. That's the term. Yeah.
I can spend this entire 2 hours just telling you things about whale sharks because they're so interesting. I was doing that for 5 weeks.
It's like almost, this is why I love the podcast so much, because you think you're going to talk about freelance and full-time careers and you find yourself doing National Geographic because people are so rich with their experiences, as you said at the beginning, where they get to do these things and learn about these things that they would normally not learn or get to do or even explore the possibility of learning about when they're in a full-time job.
Yeah.
So that's one of the kind of advantages, I guess, that you even put in your post as...
yes, exactly. Like your ability to travel, take time off, have your own time, do, these wild experiences. The thing is, it's not like if you have a full-time job, it doesn't stop you. You can take a month off and go do that. It's just, I feel like you get into a general mindset that prevents you from finding those adventures when you are so focused on your career. Yeah. And I think this is part of the freelance world that is an advantage.
Yeah.
It forces you to get out of your box, to explore your surroundings, to want to meet new people, to want to experience new things. And I think it just adds to the possibility of you making that happen. Yeah,
and the mental capacity to even think about what you could want, because a month is hardly enough between planning what you want to do, where you want to stay, your trip route, and then before you know it, you're probably even taking some work calls on your full-time job vacation anyway.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got to, much like yourself, I also worked as a freelancer for a while, happened to also become an entrepreneur. And today I have a company that actually staffs freelancers.
Yeah.
It's one of the things we do. We also do full-time executive search. So I'm quite fascinated with the freelance model. I actually, perhaps I have a bit of a bias, have a preference for people who can be freelancers because of how I got to experience this horizontal, heterogeneous degree of interest across different things. Like even this podcast is something that I got, I'm doing probably because I have the ability to manage my time and have the mental capacity. And that's just one of the things that I got to do. So, but I understand how like as you said, there are different colors of green. So here you are now with a full-time job with, what's the name of the startup you're working for? Zbooni.
Yeah.
And now you're having some pros and cons as well, I imagine. You're losing some of the freelance fun stuff at the freelance side, but you're enjoying full-time.
I'm really enjoying working in an environment that really allows you to grow, is there for your empowerment and growth, and they want to see you succeed, so they equip you with that. I love working with a team again, going to the office, seeing people. And I said also in my post that, this interaction that you have with the different people, the different departments, it really gives you a perspective that you don't really get when you're just working on freelance basis or on your own. And the thing is, it might make sense for me right now at this moment in my career, but maybe, it doesn't for you anymore because you've been there. Yeah. Right? So this is again about having different paths, different timelines.
I consider it every now and then.
What you're looking for. So there's no one formula.
I want to go back to the fact that you're very outspoken and vocal on LinkedIn. You don't hold back. You drop F-bombs. You probably trigger some people in your posts, I imagine. But that's why I like it. I enjoyed watching your content or coming across it, because it's different than what everybody else is posting on LinkedIn. And I have a problem with LinkedIn in general, like a love-hate relationship, which we'll get to in a second. But I wanted to ask you if because some of your posts are probably they're triggering some people, especially those who are fitting into the cliche, kind of the same shit that keeps getting regurgitated on LinkedIn, from one post to another. So does anybody ever come to you and be like, excuse me, your post, I don't like it or something?
Something, surprisingly, never.
Yeah?
Surprisingly, I've never had one. I have different opinions on the comments. Not everyone agrees with what I say, but surprisingly, I've never had a bad comment. Someone who was being rude or someone who was being mean. I mean, I don't know on the post that went viral, because there's
Which one was that?
My first post.
Okay.
Because there's so many
kickboxing
comments.
One?
No. I wrote that last year on my birthday in September.
Okay.
That actually went viral on 3 different accounts. So mine, then supportwomen.com picked it up, and then the female lead again.
Okay.
So that was about your CV does not define you.
Oh, okay. I know which one you're talking about. Right.
Yeah. So, but going back to your question, I've never had any bad comment. People disagree a lot with what I'm saying, but it's always a very decent conversation of just exchanging another point of view, which I don't know if I'm lucky. I don't know if it's the way I write my posts, but I haven't been offended in my comments or... So
one post that I particularly loved, I actually cracked up when I saw it, and I thought maybe it would have triggered some people.
Yeah.
You see which one I'm looking at, right?
Yeah.
So for anybody listening, Rawan shared an image. She captioned it, "Happy Tuesday to everyone except people who keep repeating this fake post." And the post is a picture of somebody saying, "We hired somebody with 0 experience. We thought he would be a great fit with our culture, so we took a chance. He has been promoted twice. Sometimes people just need a chance." Agree? And I get it, right? It's such a You know
how many times I've seen this post?
Yeah.
Copy pasted word per word.
Yeah.
It's always 0 experience in capital.
Yeah.
It's always they've been promoted twice.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time I talk about this. In another post, I'm like, can we please know who they are?
Yeah.
Because we'd like to congratulate them. Right?
Yeah.
So just tag them. Tag the person
that
you have hired with 0 experience.
Yeah, I mean,
because I would really
these are icons.
because and why is it such a I don't know. Like, it's like landing on the moon, hiring someone with zero experience. Everyone graduates with zero experience.
Right.
What are you expecting? What are you
yeah.
expecting from people?
Yeah, I mean, it's either that, or like it's also a little bit of an unlikely situation that, unless you're hiring an undergraduate, somebody without any experience, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But then if you're going to hire, let's say, somebody that's in their mid-age and for whatever reason they don't have any experience, for whatever reason, they didn't work, that's also not gonna, like, that's also a little bit unlikely. I mean, that's also, I found it to be a little bit of an unreasonable outcome if the post is referring to somebody that is a mid-level hire, or,
I don't think anyone has zero experience.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've never worked any day in your life, if you just sat at home and you survived, you have some sort of experience of how you did that. You had to like manage your financials, you had to keep yourself afloat, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have some kind of experience, maybe not a CV defining experience, but saying that you're hiring someone with zero experience, I'm sure that they're talking here about undergrads.
I guess
right?
So. Yeah.
But even nowadays, undergrads have some experience. They do internships, they travel around, they take courses that I wish were there when I was in college, you know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
So
what are you trying to say exactly with that post, right? Like, I mean, not you, whoever is posting that thing. What is the message they're trying to put out?
Nothing. They just want
bullshit.
likes.
Yeah, exactly.
They just want, like, this is my problem with LinkedIn today.
Yeah.
Like, everyone just posting they find a post, and I see it on my page a lot, and I wish I can call out every person that does that.
Yeah.
So I see a post, it has like, I don't know, 20,000 likes.
Yeah.
I scroll down, I see the same post copy pasted by another person who's trying to also like gather the same because they see that this kind of content resonates. And this is a problem because it's becoming repetitive. It's becoming very bullshitty, right? And fake.
Yeah.
And I understand everyone wants the exposure. Actually, today I was about to write a post that said, "Is everybody an influencer today?"
Yeah.
And the answer is yes and no at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes, because actually, no, let's start with no. Because if you have something to say and you have an opinion about something, that doesn't make you an influencer. It's just you have an opinion and people resonated with that, which is great, you know. I'm all for people writing something that they truly feel and experience that they truly had. And if enough people resonates with that, I mean, I love the fact that we are trying to become more human. We're talking about things that we never used to talk to before because they were considered taboo, like mental health, like diversity, like inclusivity, like being more, and you have a lot of people on LinkedIn who are champions of these things, and I love their content. But then again, everybody wants to be an influencer. Why? Because this is what gets you exposure, and I don't blame them. You see these people whose posts are going viral, they get opportunities that other people don't get anymore because they are the ones that are being more seen by recruiters, that are seen by other members of like C-levels. So everybody wants to get into that. They want their 5 minutes of fame because they need that.
It helps their employment opportunities, you think?
It helps them progress one way or another.
Interesting.
Right?
I would think it's a lot of the same stuff you see on Instagram, on Facebook, is that it's just social, validation and that gratification of getting engagement. Like, a lot of those people are probably just looking for likes and shares, regardless of what it would actually lead to. But what actually makes LinkedIn much worse than those other social media, in my opinion, you watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix, and then you hear people always talk about, how dangerous social media has gotten, and influencers, and everybody's creating a fake version of their life or an incomplete version of their lives. Yeah. And then everybody else is looking at you having your vegan meal in some vacation island, whatever. And obviously that's not good because it gives a fake image of people's lives. So we've all been, this topic has been discussed a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
But every time people refer to Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, nobody talks about LinkedIn. And I have a real love-hate relationship with LinkedIn. I love it for the obvious reasons. It's great for on the job. It's great to apply for a job or look for a job. And to also, share the successes of your career and your company, because for all these things are good and important. What ends up happening is everybody's posting, proud to have joined this company. I want to celebrate that I sold my company. Honored to have gotten into this partnership. It's all positive news. So if somebody just lost their job or having a career crisis and they're scrolling through LinkedIn, this is gonna hit them hard. much worse than it would hit them if they were scrolling through Facebook and they saw somebody at a vacation or anything. Because people associate their identities with the jobs that they do, which is wrong. Because that's what you said with your post as well about how you're not your CV or
your CV does not define you.
Your CV, exactly. Your CV does not define you. Your job or what you've done to make an income does not define who you are. But for a lot of people, it does. And so when you suddenly go on LinkedIn and you see all your friends making money, changing jobs, getting promoted, selling companies, and you're just not going through a good time at this point, you're miserable at your job, it's probably much more toxic and painful and than any of those other social media or social networks are being. And so... But nobody talks about LinkedIn because LinkedIn is not seen as a social media or a social network. It's supposed to be a job finding, job hunting platform.
Because it wasn't.
It wasn't initially, right? Like 6 years ago, it became this thing that's a newsfeed with similar to Instagram and Facebook.
I feel not even 6 years. Like 6 years ago, maybe people just posting about their jobs. But I feel for the past a year, maybe you've seen people open up about different aspects of their lives on LinkedIn as well. And I feel like LinkedIn as a platform itself is trying to do that shift, right? They're trying to endorse people, they're trying to endorse creators to kind of shift the narrative on the platform from being just like your LinkedIn profile is just another CV and you just do like business, like to bring in the more human factor into like the business transactions.
Right, which is a good thing as well. It comes with its pros and cons.
Yes, 100%.
That even if you look at LinkedIn's like the reactions that you can put in a LinkedIn post, they're all positive. Like it's like, clap, celebrate, curious. Like there's nothing there that's angry. And I'm not saying that's the right. These guys probably did a lot of R&D on how they should design their product and all these things. But it's like it's clearly part of the system that this is a place to celebrate, to enjoy your successes. And even if anybody's going to go and be negative on LinkedIn and open up, right, quote unquote, it's always a loaded negative message, like kind of like what we just looked at right now. Like this is meant to be like almost like the post that shows that these guys are unique, unlike everybody else. But then even that is loaded because it's full of crap, obviously. But basically, it's just a very disingenuous platform, and the platform itself is fine. There's nothing wrong with LinkedIn or Microsoft owning it. It's just the usage of it, right? Just like with every other social media. And if anything, they don't have advertising as a revenue model like Facebook and Instagram and the other ones do. So they're not necessarily incentivized to create engagement and traction. Like that's not part of their business model, right? I think they still make most of their money from subscriptions to recruiters and that stuff. But it's amazing that when you start to see people show off their lives on a personal level on Facebook and Instagram, and they do the same with their careers on LinkedIn, it's a dangerous world. Like, you know, it can be a very depressing thing to open your LinkedIn if you're going through a hard time in your career.
Yeah, basically. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. But I actually like the fact that there is no negative buttons on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah?
Because I feel like people are very cruel, you know, in general. We as a human race, we're cruel people. And I feel like if you go on a lot of the viral posts, if you see the amount of negative comments that are there, like you're like, man, chill. You know, this person is living their life. It has nothing to do with you. Like, why are you so triggered and upset by how this person is choosing to live their life?
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, we don't really need more negativity. We don't really need to see like, and you know, every person that actually takes the time and writes a post and posts it on LinkedIn, it takes a lot of courage to hit that button, the post button. Yeah. Because no matter how much you say that you don't care, you know, we do live for the validation that comes from other people liking what we're saying or resonating with it. And what do you do if a post doesn't get enough likes? Do you delete it? Like, what if you get, you know, lots of hateful comments on that post? It destroys you as well. Yeah,
I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I agree with you that we could all live with a little bit of less negativity and trolls, especially that LinkedIn also has like verified identities for the most part. Yeah. And that's definitely a good thing. But at the same time, it does create an overly positive environment that is you can't really tell who's really disagreeing with a certain post or a certain. I mean, it's not that they disagree, but it does eliminate a little bit the genuine or honest conversation that you would normally have had it. But it's a trade-off, right? We might be going into a tangent of product UI, UX considerations here. But I always wonder, like, is this the kind of conversation that they have in the product department of LinkedIn? Like, how much should we allow people to be honest with each other?
I don't know. We can ask them.
We could ask them. I'm hoping to get Lean Schumann. You know who Lean Schumann is?
No.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, she went to AB as well, like the two of us did. And she's the community head of community for the Middle East, I think. And she's an old friend as well.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, a lot of questions for Lynn. And if you're watching, you're next.
Next time.
So actually, speaking of the fact that we went to AB, I wanted to ask you, I know you studied economics in your undergrad. And you did Islamic studies for for your master's.
Yes, one of them.
I'm very curious to ask. I mean, it's a fascinating topic, if only intellectually, if nothing else.
Yes.
So what drove you to decide to study Islamic studies?
Well, whatever drives me to study anything, honestly. My first degree, which was economics, it was like, it came with the territory. I was studying in IC, I was doing the French bac, I was also doing economics, and I would just apply to UB and went with the degree. But midway through, when I was doing an internship in London, I was like, yeah, there's no way I want to live that life. I can't, I can't just sit in front of the computer all day crunching numbers. That's not part of my personality. That's not who I am. And I'm just going to finish that degree and then go do something I love. And I think like any 20-year-old, what I loved at the time was fashion. So I went to London and I got a fashion degree diploma, a fashion design diploma, sorry. I stayed 1 year there, and then I moved back to Beirut, where I started working for a fashion magazine. And then I moved to Dubai, where I worked for another fashion magazine. And for personal reasons, I had to move back to Lebanon. And when I moved back, it was amidst the Syrian crisis, and we had the influx of refugees. So I started working with UNHCR. I worked with them for 2 years as part of their regional comms team.
UNHCR stands for the United Nations.
Higher, what is it? UN. Higher.
Children, refugees.
No, refugees.
Okay, we'll look it up after.
Higher Commissioner of Refugees, something like that.
All right. So I keep going until I look it up. So UNHCR.
Yeah.
I don't have a Jamie like Joe Rogan does, so I have to do my own research. UNHCR. Okay, sorry. Continue until I look it up. Yeah.
And I've always been fascinated by the topic of Islam in terms of like a history, civilization point of view. I really, and it was like, at the time of ISIS and all of these things, and I really wanted to get an in-depth look. And I was really interested in teaching at that time as well. So I wanted to actually do a master's, continue to a PhD, and teach at a university level. So I went back to uni, I did my master's degree, and then I moved back here for the second time, where I taught Islamic civilization at 2 universities for about 2 semesters. And then I went back to Lebanon for another personal reason. And I started working like full-time at AUB.
Okay.
And then here I am.
So why did you choose to specialize in Islamic studies specifically?
Okay, because I was always fascinated by the topic. I always I used to read a lot of history about it. I used to have a lot of discussions, with my uncle actually, with my mom. It was something that always fascinated me. And for you to be full on committed to doing a master's and then a PhD, you need to be really interested in the topic material. Yeah. And I thought that I would be, So and I was. Again, it was the time where ISIS was resurfacing or surfaced for the first time, actually. And it got me really interested because I really wanted to know where is all of this coming from,
Yeah. It's just a fascinating topic to study from a historical perspective, from an intellectual perspective. Just to call my attention, it's a unique area to specialize in, so I just wanted to ask you about it really quick. One of the things that you had posted about, and you mentioned you also got I think one of that posts viral was empowerment of women. You had a video of yourself kickboxing.
Yes.
Great video, great post. So I actually love to ask that question to a lot of my female guests on the show. To what extent, and I'm specifically referring to our socioeconomic kind of group of people here, those of us who are progressives, studied abroad, maybe worked, we're not like let's just call ourselves progressive. To what extent do you find that women are still victims of some sort of prejudice?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm genuinely asking. By the way, I have 3 sisters, all who work, all with very successful husbands, but they all work. And I have a mother who's 7 years old, still works, doesn't have to, but still works and does very well for herself. So I'm constantly curious to understand if women are facing a disadvantage in the business, especially in their careers, because of the fact that they're women. From your own experience, what is your opinion?
Look, I think this is like a very like charged topic because you don't really know where to start. For me to explain to you, or any for any woman to properly explain this as a man, and I promise you, probably 95% of women won't be able to because they don't know it themselves. They don't really know the amount of pressure, prejudice, discrimination that they face, and they faced all of their lives on a daily basis, so much that it becomes
normalized
and rooted in them. They don't see it anymore. They don't perceive it. So, me, I don't know your sisters, but like 98% of females in our society had to fight for every single thing that they've had in their life. And I'll start from the very simple things: staying out late, going out with her friends alone, I don't know, maybe owning even a cell phone at a certain age.
Traveling with her friends.
Deciding which university to go to. Travel, that comes even later. But, I'm just talking about the basic things.
Yeah.
Maybe owning your own car, driving past 8 a.m. All of these different things that that you have to fight to get them.
Yeah.
Because most of our parents, our fathers, our mothers, they see them as, no, what are you doing?
Brothers too.
Because my brother can stay out until 3 a.m., but I have to be home by 9, right? Because he's a man. My brothers, they can go study wherever they want because they're men. I'm not allowed.
So you struggled with that?
On a certain level, I did, but my parents are
open-minded,
extremely progressive and open-minded compared to other parents, but still, we all still face that, right? My father at the beginning had a hard time accepting that I want to stay out late, that I want to travel. Like, one of the reasons why I chose AUB was because I didn't want to even go, through that discussion with my father.
Studying abroad, you mean?
Yes, at that age.
Yeah.
But then I went again when I was 21. I did my first master's in London, but on an undergrad level. And I didn't even have that conversation because I knew, maybe I'm fine where I am. It's okay. But if you take me back maybe now to when I was 17 and what I really wanted to do in my life when I was even younger, maybe everything I wanted to do, I would have achieved. I think I would have lived a completely different life had I went and studied abroad when I was 17. Maybe yes, maybe no, but sure. This is the untaken path.
And that's you who actually had a relative advantage compared to potentially other women.
Yes, I had an extremely, my life is very, I can talk to my parents about anything and everything. Like, the life that I have lived, I've probably, maybe not even 5% of females in the region can say that they had the chance to live that life. But again, we're so conditioned.
I see what you mean, yeah.
That a lot of people don't even see it.
So it starts from a young age, even So I see. So you're saying that we look at the careers that women have, and the disadvantages, the prejudices, the biases, and these don't start there. They start at a much younger age where you already accept that you're disadvantaged compared to your brother or other men. Is that what you're saying?
How many girls In college, I don't even want to go younger. You tell them what you want to be in life. They tell you, I want to be a CEO or a CFO or a COO.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
You know why? They don't even think about it. Because why? Because, eventually you're going to get married. You're going to have a husband. And of course you need to work because you need to be productive. But like your career will always come second to your husband.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And tell me how many men in the region will actually accept a woman who is more successful than they are, who makes more money than they make.
Yeah.
Because you have kids also.
No, but I mean, like, I've been following this topic closely, and I keep referencing this. This might be the third time I reference it on the show. Do you know a show called Explained on Netflix?
No.
So Explained is this documentary series on Netflix that discusses different topics, and one of them is the gender pay gap. Mm-hmm. And so they go over all the different, and it's a kind of American, progressive, probably a leftist show, so they don't leave a stone unturned, and they definitely try to make sure that they cover everything that leads to a gender pay gap. Mm-hmm. But if I remember this particular episode correctly, and I encourage anybody to watch it, anyway, the show goes on to conclude that a lot of the reasons why women they have a setback in their career compared to their peer men is because the natural take care of the family, take care of the kids, take care of the house responsibility falls on them and not on their men because of the conditioning or the society.
Yeah.
But what I think this show does not capture enough of, and I think you touched on a very interesting point, is that it starts at a much younger age.
Of course.
So your expectations as a woman on what can I achieve in my career is limited to, well, get a job, but that's it. There is no become a CEO in this narrative. There's a lot of emphasis on you got to get educated because you got to have to be able to support yourself one day, whether you're married or not. So there's always that kind of narrative that you need to be able to get a job.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like and we're not going to say be a CEO here, but just be, study so you can have a job one day.
Yeah.
But you're right. And this is true in Lebanon and also in Jordan where I come from. And I also studied in Lebanon. But like, if you're a woman and you can just get a good paying job, that's as good as it gets. Like
that's perfect. That's perfect for your husband.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because then you will be able to sustain yourself, maybe help out in the household income, maybe not depending on how much money he's making, but also not have a too demanding job that will where you need to stay past 6 p.m., where you need to travel on business trips. And leave the kids and, do all of the things that actually is required from you to be in a position where you have a stellar, astonishing career.
Yeah, fair enough.
So your career is great and you need, because also this is another one of my posts is how do we handle moms, right? What is our perceptions of moms? You need to be a working mom, but don't be too much of a working mom. Right? Be a working mom without actually talking about how hard it is to juggle your career and your kids and your family.
I love that. Yeah,
because no one really wants to hear that you need to take your lunch break hour to go pump or go breastfeed your child and come back to work.
Yeah,
okay?
It almost seems like these women are getting an advantage for showing that off, but it doesn't actually, is what you're saying?
I mean, we want all women to be moms, and we want them to be working moms, but we don't want to talk about how demanding it is to actually be a working mom and how much the working environment does not allow you to be a working mom.
Because it doesn't help other mothers.
It doesn't help you.
That's
it
amazing.
Doesn't help you be a working mom. It doesn't help you. And also, this comes from the entire work environment. I have a lot of friends who are working moms. And I know, one of my friends, she gave birth recently and she got back to work. She needs to leave at 4, let's say. Okay, she signs off at 4 to go pick up her kid. She goes back home. And during that time, that 1 hour gap where she's picking up her kid from nursery and going back home, if she receives any emails that there are other men CC'd on that email, they reply instantly to take the lead on that, to kind of disregard that she exists just because she signed off for 2 hours to go take care of the kids.
So it's reinforcing the stereotype almost,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and at the same time, we look at stay-at-home moms in a negative light as well. So they don't win. Either way, if you are a mom, you don't win. If you are a working mom, you don't get the proper support to be a good working mom. And then you also get if you excel at your career, you're often labeled as someone who's leaving her family. You know, you don't have time for your kids. No. We give all of that negative connotation. But then again, if you choose to be a stay-at-home mom, you also get this negative comment. Oh, what do? You're a stay-at-home mom. Oh, you know, like you're not doing enough.
Listen, I love this because what you're saying is there are challenges. There is a history. There is a preconception. There's a stereotype. You're not going to do anybody any favors, including yourself, if you're going to highlight these disadvantages or challenges. So you might as well just show that these are not going to be a problem, work through them, succeed because we can succeed as women, and if you don't highlight the disadvantages that actually will only reinforce to the those around you who might use them against you, you might as well become successful without anybody being able to. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying we need to highlight these.
Okay, sorry.
I'm saying we need to shed the light on them, and we need to highlight them because everybody needs to know how hard it is to be a working mom.
Okay.
And we need to stop enforcing this narrative of a superwoman or a super mom that is able to do it all, because at the end of the day, it's only like everyone's benefiting from that except her. Because no one's really taking into consideration that this person is handling a job like a man is doing, plus the household, plus the kids, while not saying a word about it.
So
because she's not allowed to nag or she's not allowed to highlight these things. And I think like all working environments should give the woman the ability to be excellent at both. They should give a new mom the leeway to be good at her career, but also be there for her children that are still growing up.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one or like either or.
Yeah, but that's so. Employers and businesses should allow for that. I agree with you. But what's the perception? What's the message that should be put out by mothers and working women? Like, in your opinion, what would encourage that equality to be achieved and that prejudice to disappear faster? What would be the most... Sorry, I might be a little bit confused here because you're saying that women who are mothers should highlight the fact that they're able to achieve their jobs as mothers?
Yes.
They should mention that I'm a mother and I'm also able to do my job just as well as a man, right? So that should be front and center.
No, I think like there are 2 points here.
Yeah.
There are 2 points here. That we expect, so if you're not a superwoman, you're not succeeding, which is not the case.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Which is not the case.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Being a superwoman is draining for that mom. It's like debilitating for her on so many different for so many different reasons.
That's a very high expectation.
Yes, and no one can carry those expectations. But we expect, okay, you know what? You want equal pay, then go be that superwoman. When at the same time we don't expect the dads to do the same.
Yeah,
okay, he's working. Yeah, don't bother him. He's at work, right? But he should also I'm saying that men and women should hold the same kind of burden when they are parents.
Okay, well that I agree with you 100% on that one for sure.
They should hold the same kind of burden. If we want to see more women succeed and reach CEO levels and COO levels and break the glass ceiling and do more, it doesn't come just from we talk about an equal pay. We have to provide an equal opportunity for them to get there.
100%. I'm all up for equal opportunity, by the way.
Yeah.
So let's, for the sake of the example, take those situations and countries and couples where equality is endorsed by the man and the woman and the employer and the company. I'm wondering if in such progressive, such advanced and open-minded and kind of companies or societies, is there still, even beyond that, a prejudice against women?
Of course.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like competency related?
I've had it happen to me many times.
Yeah, because you're not a mother, right?
No, I'm not a mother.
So, okay, let's talk about that example. What if you're not a mother, just a single woman? Do you feel like there is a disadvantage just because you're... Okay,
If you're sitting in a boardroom and you say something, people don't take you seriously.
Wow.
They don't listen.
And you're like a strong woman, clearly. And you're
and I have a lot of friends, and I have a lot of friends who work in the consulting world, who all face that problem. The men in the industry, they don't take you seriously. Like you're in the boardroom, you're saying something, they interrupt you to speak over you, either they disregard what you say, and then 30 minutes later, another man in the room says the exact same thing, and then he's praised for it, you know?
Oh, okay.
So it's like you don't exist. It's like what you say doesn't really matter until like you enforce it time and again and again and again and again.
More than a guy would need to.
Much more than a guy would need to. Much more.
So what would be, in your opinion, what would help solve that? 'Cause that's obviously messed up, right? That's not good. Is this the kind of thing where, you know, you have different people saying men should start to stand up for women more, not like in a like not, I was going to say Will Smith punching people, but like, I mean, is this the kind of thing like how do we establish a level ground here? And for the sake of the example, let's take the mothers out of the discussion.
Like
just a single man, single woman in a board meeting. What would be required, do you think, in order to change the perception of the collective perception, so that women are not seen as pushovers and talked over, you know? And is this the kind of thing where men need to do more, or is it the kind of thing that women hopefully can all like agree that this is a certain collective attitude that they need to also do in order to change that perception? Or is it something that like, or is it much more complicated than a simple 1, 2, 3, that's what you got to do and you solve the problem? I don't know if you've given this a thought, you know?
I think it's a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I think men need to be, okay. So the same way I was telling you that women are, you know, like, this comes as a social conditioning. Men are also social conditioned to believe, since they are young, that, you know, they are smarter, they are stronger, they are the breadwinners of the families, they are, you know, the dreamers, the achievers, they are everything.
Yeah.
So they grow up with that. And it's very hard for you to come and change that mentality to of a 40-year-old man, let's say, who is like a C-level executive sitting in a boardroom, where you're going to come and tell him, you know, strip away 40 years of social conditioning and come and understand that, you know, women are not inferior. Probably you're not the smartest man in the room. You know, you're not the most powerful being here. And that someone who might be smarter than you could actually be a woman.
Yeah, you need to be humbled enough to take that too.
Yeah. So it's a lot of things. And you need to teach women that they can be CEOs, and you also need to educate the men of the same thing, that women can be CEOs.
Yeah. 100%.
And they can probably do a much better job. And like strip away the negative narratives. Oh, women are too emotional. They're too emotional. Men, you know, like they are more intellectual. But
I always have this discussion with a lot of my friends about Jordan Peterson. I don't know how much about Jordan Peterson you follow.
No.
He's like considered to be one of the like he writes a lot of books. He's gotten famous on YouTube. He's a bit of a controversial character because like one of the things he says is, and by the way, he has some good content. I'm not saying all of his stuff is good. A lot of it is pretty messed up or controversial. But he's definitely a smart guy. Anyway, what he goes on to say in one of his discussions about gender is that there is a predisposition that men have towards certain professions and women too. And it was never about like women clean and cook and men do smart things, right? So it's more a lot of like empathy-based jobs, like being a doctor or psychiatrist or that sort of thing is better for a woman than it is for a man because of you know, genetic predispositions and stuff like that. But I wonder to what extent certain jobs, not necessarily like, you know, cooking or cleaning, but like certain jobs women are just better at them. Like women are more empathetic than men are.
Some women are.
Yeah.
Not all women are more empathetic than all men. You know?
No. Generally speaking, I'm wondering if there is some. And by the way, I'm just wondering out loud whether. First of all, is there like do you think there is a difference between men and women, like at a core level? Like,
of course, there's a biological difference between men and women.
Yeah.
I think this is like a huge misconception when you say someone is like a feminist, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what are you saying? You know, like women are the same as men? No, I'm not saying women are the same as men. We're not biologically equal. But, you know, this doesn't change the fact that we should have the same rights as you do.
Oh, that goes without saying.
We should have the same, like, equal opportunity as you. You know, like, these are just the most basic of things. And equal opportunity means anything and everything. My equal opportunity to actually even go out on the street wearing whatever I want without being harassed. This is an equal opportunity.
100%. But I agree with that 100%. Yeah. Equal opportunity should not be even a question at this point. Like, you should not give men more opportunities over at the expense of women. If that's happening in any place in the world, it's obviously like backwards. Like, that's my question. I mean, well, I guess what you made a good example about if you're sitting as a woman in a board meeting, or if you're pitching an investor. I asked that question to another entrepreneur founder I had on the show. And you feel like you're being ignored or you're not taken seriously because you're a woman, that's fucked up.
Yeah, and it happens a lot. Yeah. It happens more than you can actually
And I guess
imagine.
that's what I'm trying to get at here is like, to what extent is like, you know, you have this venture capitalist, angel investor or VC, whatever, and then you show up as a woman with your pitch deck and you're like, yeah, that's my startup, you know, and then like suddenly, you know, you haven't even started talking and then the investor lost interest because you look like a woman. That's fucked up.
You know, I'll give you another example.
No equal opportunity, right? Like, you know, hear her out, you know.
I'm going to put this in very simple terms for you. If on this table you bring a man CEO and a woman CEO and you put them, both of them here, right? Instinctively, you will not feel that the man needs to justify why he is a CEO or how he got there. But you would want to know, like, how did she get here?
Yeah.
Okay?
It's the same with, like, African-American.
This is the problem.
Yeah.
And right there is the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is that we still call women founders.
Yeah.
Woman CEO. Women entrepreneurs. Women engineers. This is the entire problem. Okay, but why do we need to emphasize that they are women? It's because they don't exist in enough numbers in that, environment.
But Rawan, this brings me back to what I was asking you earlier. Are you saying we should drop the fact that we're celebrating that there are women? Because on the one hand, you would think we should celebrate women founders because it means it helps change the system. And it highlights the fact that there are successful women out there. On the other hand, I agree with you that if you drop the woman part, it's just a successful person, and we're not emphasizing the fact that there are women.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you want to try to educate the world that, look, there are successful women out there. This is a woman founder, you know. But on the other hand, that actually creates a little bit of highlighting the minority.
But we shouldn't be a minority anymore.
Yeah, but what do you do? You are already a minority. Like the truth is, for good or bad reason, women are,
But yeah, I understand your point. But as long as we're treated as another category, we will always be another category.
I agree.
And that's the thing. You know,
I agree.
And in one of my posts, I say that like for us to change something, you first start with changing the narrative.
Yeah.
Because the words that we use, they matter way more than you think. And when you start changing the narrative, this is when you start changing the perception, this is when you start changing the actions, and eventually this is when you start seeing real change.
Yeah.
So the words that we use, they are very important.
Yeah, I agree. I think, for example, if you ask me right now, and I'm a guy, it doesn't matter, let's just say I'm just a human being on LinkedIn, and there is that entrepreneur who happens to be a woman,
yeah,
and she's on LinkedIn saying, I just sold my company for $100 million, like everybody else who's glorifying and parading these successes on LinkedIn. And if she goes as far as saying, I am an entrepreneur who sold my company for $100 million, and she even goes as far as saying, I'm not saying I'm a woman entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur that sold. If that is highlighted, that the fact that she dropped the I'm a woman adjective, that would be so much stronger than having somebody be like, oh, look at this exit, and it happened to be a woman. You know, like that emphasis is not helping.
Yeah, but
you sold your startup for $100 million. That's it. Leave it at that. People are going to notice you're a woman, and the perception is going to be changed. But don't highlight the fact that you're a woman because it's not actually helping in some sense, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah,
I agree. I think highlighting the fact that you are a woman does not always help the case.
Yeah.
Because we want to be seen as equally competent, equally smart, equally capable. And as long as we keep referring to ourselves as a different entity of like, we need to say that we are women, I think that kind of like takes away from the overall trajectory that we're trying to achieve.
But then we should still celebrate Women's Day and stuff, right? Like you see
you have a Men's Day.
Do we?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Yep.
What date is that?
There's an International Men's Day.
What's the actual
Google
date?
it.
No, but what's that? Do you know the date?
I think it's either November, somewhere in November or something.
Is that Halloween? Are you saying?
No.
That's end of October. Yeah.
No, but you have an International Men's Day.
That's crazy. I didn't realize there's a Men's Day. I guess there's a Father's Day too, which we never celebrate. Did you have a Father's Day in Lebanon?
Yeah, we celebrate Father's Day.
Did you ever go to your father and be like, Happy Father's Day?
Yes.
I never did that with my father.
Yeah.
Poor guy. And he has 2 birthdays, by the way. My dad doesn't even know his actual birthday.
Oh.
He's like born in 1937, so he's got like his birthday on the passport and what he believes his actual birthday is.
Yeah.
So he believes he's an Aquarius, but officially he's a Taurus. And there's always this discussion at home between, and he's holding on to the fact that he's an Aquarius, but like everybody in the house, like, you're a Taurus. I don't believe in horoscopes, but my sisters do. All right, so International Men's Day, Saturday. No, this is Saturday. 19th of November is Men's Day. That's fascinating.
See?
We should have a party.
Yeah, you do. You should.
Okay, but okay, I guess, well, let me say broadly what I'm saying is we want to keep the conversation going about giving equal opportunity to women. But by doing that, what we're highlighting is the inherent disadvantage that women have. So it's kind of it's almost like a double approach here. Like, on the one hand, you don't want people to like become complacent. You want you want to keep the momentum of progressive people standing up for women, making sure equality of opportunities are happening, even though it might highlight the disadvantage. Yeah. But at the same time, what you want to have is a bunch of like really hustler, badass women killing it, but without highlighting that they were women. So like kind of a combination of those two things, I think, would be the right. Yeah. And if everybody buys into this kind of double approach, that would actually kind of really expedite and accelerate the equality that we would be looking for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting.
I think it's a job for both sexes and gender neutral people now also as well.
Right.
Like, everyone has to come together to make this happen. Yeah. But the thing is, you rarely find men who are going to come and say like, yeah, I want to take this and I want to be an advocate for women.
Yeah.
You rarely find this. And generally because most of them don't really believe that women have the same intellectual capabilities.
Yeah, if that's the case, that's fucked up.
But they do exist a lot, especially in our, like, I'm really talking mainly about our region.
Yeah.
They don't believe women were made for the workplace.
Yeah. And that's why I initially started asking you, like, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to be apologetic for interrupting you now, since we were talking about men interrupting women. No, but I would have interrupted a man.
No, it's okay. I'm interrupting you too.
So that's why I initially disclaimed this discussion with our socioeconomic group, because in those of us who studied at AUB or maybe studied abroad and now are working in startups and stuff, I personally look around me, and if maybe my friends, perhaps they're all open, but like I would never, like, even if we're sitting even if a bunch of guys like me and my male friends are sitting around, even the implication that we would talk about a girl in a way that would be like, she's incompetent, or she wouldn't be good enough for a job. Like, there might be other kind of locker room conversations going on around the guys about like more personal stuff, but that's, we can debate that, whether that's even right or not. But as far as career and competency and all of that is concerned, nobody judges women as less competent or less deserving, or, like, at least not the people around me or even in my vicinity, right? And that's why I constantly wonder, but then I'm a guy, so I wouldn't know. So that's why I always like to ask a woman who's either a friend or a guest on the show if they experience that. And it turns out, like,
every single working woman, non-working, whatever you want.
Fascinating, interesting.
Every single woman has faced some sort of this, I don't even know what to call it, like, because it's a disadvantage. It's either being at the receiving end of a sort of behavior. But a lot of my very close friends are very successful career women, and they work in men's fields, if you want, and they constantly, on a daily basis, they have to prove themselves. They have to prove why they deserve the seat at the table when their other male counterparts don't.
Yeah.
and this is another example on their own. The fact that you constantly have to give your 110% to constantly prove that you deserve to be here.
Yeah. It's a fucked up place to be in. I mean, I don't know if it compares to like African Americans or other minorities who are just born into a disadvantage. But I guess if you're like, there is white privilege, there is male privilege.
Definitely. You were talking about you and your friends. When you get together, you don't really generally talk about females that you say, oh, they're incompetent or whatever.
No, we don't do that.
Yeah, I know. But you probably are doing some of the things that we see or that come across for us as negative, right? Because you probably do it without really feeling it. Like if, I know we're not in a boardroom now or anything, but I've had these discussions with a lot of my male friends as well. And they've always had the same reaction, like, oh, we never noticed this. They don't even know if they do it themselves.
Yeah.
So just talking about it, the next time you're in a meeting and someone is talking, if it's a woman or a man, or just practice it on anybody, don't interrupt them. Try to acknowledge, their ideas, acknowledge their presence, and start implementing these changes from a personal level as well.
Yeah, it does start at the individual level. I do like. I love it when a guy calls out another guy for whenever a situation like that does happen. Like it's always refreshing to see this kind of heroic archetype or situation of like a guy shutting down another guy, whether they know him or not. He knows him or not. For at least showing that they are belittling the woman in the room, whether or not they even mean it, but like. You got to spend a little bit more attention and effort to be conscious about it. There is a macro direction and a movement about trying to establish equality, and you need to all be conscious about it. I'm all up for that. If you call this being feminist, I'm down for being a feminist. Like if that's what a feminist is, then I'm all up for it. I'm 100% feminist, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, also what happens is that you have a lot of women, and even worse when they are influencers or famous. So let's take, for example, the Will Smith. I mean, we laughed earlier about the Will Smith example, but I mean, it's only happened a few days ago. So let's talk about that. Will laughed.
Yeah.
You saw the clip, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Will laughed at Chris Rock's joke. Then 5 seconds later, I mean, and you see his wife's eyes are rolling. Then he gets up and he punches the guy or slaps the guy. So I just wonder what like his wife said, and then like she didn't come out. I mean, he apologized.
Yeah.
His wife didn't say anything. Then you have like so basically what I'm trying to say is that it's not just men. You need a lot of women to also not be trophy wives. You need them to also not be. Otherwise, they make it worse for everybody else. Like I feel
agree.
like they're the culprits in this whole thing, right?
I think they're not culprits. They're victims.
Interesting.
They're victims of this social programming that we've lived, that we grew up with, that we live with our entire lives, that you need a man to take care of you. You need a provider. You will never be good at making enough money to live the kind of lifestyle that you want. You need to go be a sugar baby, find a sugar daddy, or marry off a rich guy, or do this, or do that, for you to kind of live the lifestyle that you really want to live. Right? We don't tell the girls, go study, become, come up with the next great idea, become a billionaire, and live the lifestyle that you want. We don't have that. Who are our role models in society for the women who've actually done that?
Yeah, I mean, but Will Smith's wife knows better than that.
I'm
right?
not talking. Yeah, I'm not talking about like her specifically. I'm talking about the fact you said trophy wives and all of this.
Sure.
I'm talking about this. I think he just probably saw that his wife was upset, and he reacted to that, which I completely disagree with his reaction. I find it very distasteful for Jada and for Chris Rock and for everyone and for him, for everyone. And it was such a bad moment. But yeah,
I got into a social media debate about it because I kind of endorsed Will Smith, and I didn't fully endorse. I did initially fully endorse it. Like when I say fully, I mean I wrote a message that says, you can't. his reaction was So this is what I said. I said his reaction is understandable and acceptable. It doesn't make it the right reaction. But under the circumstances, which is that he looked at his wife, she was upset, there's some context to it.
He could have said something.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the reaction may have been out of line, but under the circumstances, he crosses the line with his reaction. That's not good, but it's understandable. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, it's not the preferred reaction, but it's also understandable. And if he apologized afterwards, I think this is like, it's not great, but it's okay. It's not like totally out of this world fucked up. Like, I think so. And also, I don't think it's about women. For me, this was more about protecting a family member. It could have been his brother who's sitting there, who could have been perfectly, I didn't see it as a man protecting a woman. I saw a man seeing his family being disrespected in some way that was offensive.
Comedians disrespect everyone.
Yeah, but listen, I generally have this idea that family should be off limits. Like, if, God forbid, let's say you have a dead brother, sister, father.
I agree. I thought Chris Rock was way out of line.
Actually, it's not. I didn't think
especially
it was.
That she has alopecia. It's not like she's doing this as a fashion statement.
That's right.
And she's struggling with this.
But even if you think that she is, the whole thing is not that sensitive, because it's a very subjective perception. Let's just say there's a line that some people have about whether they're loved ones, dead ones, whatever you want to call it. If somebody crosses that line, and maybe it's not about the individual themselves, but about their family members or their friends or their, not their women,
everyone is a family member.
No, I mean, if I could make fun of Will Smith's ears all day long,
but Will Smith is Jada's husband.
No, I mean, if Chris Rock made fun of Will Smith all day long, of Will Smith himself.
Yeah, but he's a family member. He's a father. So his kids will come up and hit Chris Rock. His wife will go up and defend him.
No, what I'm saying is Chris Rock could be making fun of Will Smith directly.
Yeah, but I'm saying Will Smith is someone's family member.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So somebody should stand up for Will Smith, right? No, I hear.
And then it's a never-ending loop.
Okay, so it's not the right reaction to beat anybody up. I agree. What I'm saying is it's not right, but it's understandable. Actually, Whoopi Goldberg was what's the name of the show? The View. So it was interesting to see. The View is usually very like that. I would have expected The View to have like all four women being like that was fucked up, and then you have Whoopi Goldberg who's like somewhat like, you know what, I kind of get it. I don't know if she's African American and she understands a little bit more the family and the pride and all of that. What I'm trying to say is it's not as I personally think, and that's just obviously an unpopular opinion. It's not completely fucked up what he did. It's a little bit understandable. It was a slap. He sits back. He apologizes afterwards. He sends the message, apologizes pretty much not to Chris Rock directly, but he makes his apology to the Oscars and whatever. And then like later on, he apologizes to Chris Rock with his post. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I did.
It's understandable. It's not the right reaction, but it's understandable, I think. And again, it's a not popular opinion. It's a non-popular opinion. But what I'm trying to say here is that you have his wife endorsing that reaction, and then to the extent that this is applicable to women in general and in life.
I mean, we don't really know what happened in these 5 seconds.
Right.
Like, he saw her upset.
Yeah.
We don't see if she said anything. We don't see if she's... Like,
we see her rolling her eyes.
Yeah,
right?
she's clearly upset. But we don't know if she kind of like, okay, I'm upset. Like,
but we see her laughing as well.
Does that give you, okay, if I'm upset about something, does that give you the green light to go and beat somebody up?
No, but it's different from like, you have these guys who are at bars, like... trying to jump a guy, and you have the girlfriend pulling them back, and like the girlfriend's uncomfortable. That's very toxic.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then you have like Will Smith and his like in his situation, it looked a little bit more endorsed by his wife, if not entirely instigated by the wife. We don't know. You're right. All we know is that he was laughing, she was rolling her eyes. 5 seconds later, he's getting up. Clearly, either he had a sudden U-turn, or he looks at his wife and she's like, are you going to stand up for that shit? Like, I don't know. Maybe she said something like that. I don't know. Nobody knows.
I don't think that she would honestly say something like that. But, I mean, if I was her in that situation, I wouldn't have liked his reaction.
No, and rightly so, right?
I wouldn't be okay with what he did. I felt like he would have kind of like disrespected me even more, maybe disrespected himself, ruined the night for everyone. There was, I think, a much better way to handle this. He could have like talked back to Chris,
without slapping him.
He could have said something. He could have roasted him in his acceptance speech. There's a million and one ways for you to come up and say, this is not okay.
I think if he yelled, get my wife's name out of your fucking mouth without slapping him would have been just as toxic.
Maybe no, but that would be like not considered assault, actually.
Yeah,
you know,
fair enough. Fair enough. You know, I always struggle with this thing, Rawan. I have to say, as a Jordanian guy, and you grew up with a lot of Lebanese, maybe you have brothers. I'm sure you had some friends. One of the things that really, you know, I think about this a lot. When I was a young kid, teenager, and I come from like a tribe, you should know, from Jordan. Christian, but like in Jordan, doesn't matter if you're a Christian or Muslim. If you're a tribal, you're going to grow up through this Bedouin. Even if you're an urban city, like I grew up in Amman and all that. But then there's a lot of this pride, ego, you know, you're the man of the house, all that bullshit. So the patriarchy is alive and well in Jordan. And then you end up getting over your fears as a young boy of getting punched in the face, and you know you need to start fighting with, you know, to stand up for your friends and also your sisters and then your family, and then you suddenly realize I'm getting a lot of currency, social currency, for throwing the punch and being a tough guy and building muscle.
Of course.
And then, you know, you get in all these fights and you become this kind of degenerate teenager. That's the classic archetype that I'm sure we've all, you know, you've seen a lot of them, and I was one of them for sure. And then you go into the world at the age of 19, 20, or even, you know, I went to AEB and I was still that role and it worked well there too. But then you go, let's say you go into the real world after university and you realize like that's not going to help you. And then suddenly you have to undo all the conditioning you've done as a guy to learn that, like, you know, you're not going to just fight your way through shit. You can probably, you know, punch anybody any day. It's just, you're not 16 anymore, but you spend like 5-10 years undoing the fact that this is how this is how girls like you, and this is how you get the respective guys, and, you know, this is how you deal with shit.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a fucked up place to be in the societies that we grow up in, because then you grow up, you dive into the global society that the world is, and you have to undo all these kind of skills that you had to develop, and suddenly you have to take a full U-turn and become a civilized human being. It's not easy.
No, it's not. Definitely not. On so many different levels. And we kind of have that same journey, but it's a different type of journey. Yeah. That you grow up with something and then suddenly you have to unlearn it, and then you have to become this other person. And it's like an entire cycle of creation and creating and recreating yourself. And on some point it becomes, okay, like, how far do I want to take this? Right? Because then you're shedding most of the identity that you know of, that you grew up with. And it takes a lot of introspection and a lot of work to accept the fact that you're no longer this person, and the person that you want to be or become or are becoming is a completely different person from anything that you associated with as you were growing up.
Yeah, 100%. I was having a chat with this friend of mine who's an ex-McKinsey. I used to be in consulting as well. He's an executive coach today. His name is Bshara. Shout out to Bshara. We spoke about... we were talking about listening and being confrontational and all that stuff. And I had an opinion that I still until now hold on to, and I'm curious to know what you feel about it, which is that it's important, and I'm quoting Jordan Peterson here, to learn to be a beast and then learn how to control it. Like I stand by that principle, which is that people should be able and capable and have the courage to be beasts and then learn how to control it, as opposed to potentially being fearful, non-confrontational, potentially pushovers, because the life is a bit of a jungle. So I'm curious to know where you stand about it. Like, do you think if you're going to raise a kid one day, or if you, like, what's your opinion on how people should be brought up? Should they learn to be confrontational, attack, even maybe get physically confrontational or non-physically confrontational in a way that might seem toxic if they have to, and then learn to become civilized? Or should they be like? Should you tell if your kid ever gets beaten up at school, do they go tell the teacher or do they fight back? I think this is the best way for me that illustrates that example. I
think it's a combination. I think the first time they go tell the teacher, the second time they beat him up. They beat the other kid up.
Interesting. So if you have a boy, 16-year-old, 14-year-old boy comes back, says he's punched, he's crying. Your first message to him would be like, "Why did you go tell the teacher?" Yeah. You wouldn't be like, "Why didn't you punch him back?" No. Interesting. No, I think everything in this world is the gray area. Oh, okay. So everything. Okay. Everything is a combination of the different elements that make up the black or white. And I think
we don't have enough people living in the gray area, and that's why we have so many different problems in the society.
But what message does it send if your boy goes to tell the teacher, somebody's pushing me around, and the teacher goes and talks to the bully?
Accountability.
No, but I mean, like, what does it actually tell the message between the boys? If
there is accountability. If you punch me, I'm gonna there is accountability for your actions.
I understand.
But if no one's gonna do anything about it, I'm gonna take matters into my own hand to a certain
But like,
point.
do you actually believe this is gonna, like, I mean, sure, the teacher might yell at the other kid, maybe put him in detention.
Yeah.
But what's gonna happen to the boy like a week later?
Well, what? Like,
You went and told the teacher, you little pussy, let me come and beat you up again.
Okay, then I'll tell him to go beat him up.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but yeah, I do believe that there should be no, the first reaction should not be like, yeah, I know, so if someone punches you, punches them right back.
Yeah, okay.
I think I mean, that's how I would raise my children.
Enough. I'm just curious to know what your opinion on it. But
I think the first step for me would be, do something proactive about it. Because and then if that doesn't work, you can try, you can try punching him yourself.
It's an interesting, contentious topic because it illustrates much bigger examples and kind of principles in life. But I genuinely feel like man or woman, you need to learn to stand up for yourself. It's scary.
Of course.
Having 4 people stomp at you one day or whatever it might be, the situation you're in. By the way, women also get beaten the shit out of physically. There's something about breaking that barrier of fear,
but why?
Punching back, getting your ass kicked, and showing that you're not gonna sit down and go and seek help and even if he needs getting beaten up, I find that this sculpts a skill that even goes far much longer in life. Like if you're gonna be in a job one day, maybe your colleague's out to get you at the expense of your promotion. He or she wants to get promoted. A lot of situations in life manifest themselves in a very similar way to the high school playground. And I kind of feel like whether you're a boy or a girl, you need to learn to be confrontational. But that's again my non-popular personal opinion. Learn to fight back, learn to punch back, get used to getting beaten up, learn to break that barrier of fear, because it's we're naturally also scared of people if we don't have enough backing up, but then learn how to control it afterwards and become empathetic and civilized. That's my personal opinion.
But why for you telling someone what happened is not being confrontational?
Because it's not. Because to go to the teacher is much easier or less confrontational than to punch back or to sit there and be like, I'm going to take matters in my own hand. I used to be that kid at one point. I got into fights. I had choices. Do I fight back or do I go tell the teacher? The whole tell the teacher situation would be much easier, much... I go tell the teacher. She's going to go tell this kid, she's going to, whatever, put the kid in detention, maybe yell at him. But it's going to solve it's going to patch up the problem. But if I'm going to if me and this kid see each other at some point in a school party, outside the school environment, I'm going to get my ass kicked even further, even much more. Also, never mind the humiliation. I had to go and tell the teacher, in a very kind of traditional kids in a high school environment.
I see your point.
And by the way, I would go back to my house and my eldest sister would, and she's like a bit of a tomboy at the family, right? She's like a brother more than a sister. I was 13, 12, really a kid, not even a teenager. She would encourage me to fight back and get my ass kicked if I have to. But then it turns out it helped. I mean, sure, I did end up being, tilting over into degenerate teenager kind of toxic masculinity territory for a while, and then having to learn to undo it.
But not many people undo it. And this is
and that's the
slippery
risk.
slope.
Yeah, you're right.
This is a very slippery slope. I mean, I don't know. I don't have kids. I don't really know how I would react, but I think I would find the middle ground. I think I would equip my kids with enough skills to fight back if they really need to, but, also teach them that maybe that's not the best way to, the first reaction for you, to be also as aggressive or as violent, or unless you really need to.
So follow the system that gets you you're right, and then if it doesn't work, then take matters in your own hand. But first, follow the system that is legitimate and civilized. Fair enough.
Maybe. I don't really know, but going the most with who I am as a person, that would be fair enough. What I would probably tell my children to do, but I'm not sure. Maybe if I see my kid crying, I would go slap the other child myself, like I don't know how I would really react. Like, this is all hypothetical for me.
It is. It's an off the cuff question. We don't have kids. We don't know how we would actually raise them, but it's just, for me, it's always like, I think about situations hypothetically, because I feel like they reflect on much more than the actual situation that we're hypothetically discussing.
Yeah.
Volunteering. You've done quite a lot of it. UNHCR.
No, that was
just
a paid
one
job.
of them. Oh, that was a paid job.
Yeah.
But you've done other volunteering work that was not paid.
Yeah, and the NGO, like in my mom's NGO.
Borderless NGO?
Yeah.
That's your mom's NGO?
Yes.
Shout out to your mom?
Yeah, shout out to my mom.
Hope she's watching. So let me ask you a question about that. I mean, maybe now, well, perhaps, I don't know to what extent the fact that this is your mom's NGO or not, but I have always wondered, why do people, including myself, not have the imperative to work in volunteering when we have the capacity to do so? Enough money, enough time. A lot of people have enough money, enough time. They don't do enough volunteering work. I'm one of those people. You worked in volunteering. What is it that made you decide, I'm going to take time of my life to work without, I mean, the upside is obvious. You help people and that feels great. Yet people don't do enough of it. I'm one of them. Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, but there are also a lot of people who do a lot of it, I don't know why you've never tried it yourself, but I tend to find that people are selfish. We're selfish with our time. We're selfish with everything, and we live in such a hustler society that what is this getting me? If I don't see enough merit, maybe I don't want to do that thing. Maybe on Saturday I actually just want to sleep in because I'm tired. I don't want to go teach English to refugee kids, perhaps, but the moment you start doing it, you want to do it more, and I feel like the younger you are exposed to this kind of work and volunteering, the more you end up doing it when you grow older.
So I did quite a lot of it when I was in high school because it was part of the compulsory caste system. So, helping a lot of mentally challenged or blind kids and that stuff. It felt great to help people. And I still think every time I get the chance to do some of it, it does feel great. But I also wonder about myself and also others around me who are far more financially free and have much more capacity than I do. You would think that helping people would feel much more gratifying than it does, because if it is as gratifying as it should feel, much more people would be doing it. I know there are a lot of people who are doing it.
Are you talking about donating money?
No. Actually, not
going and seeing the
both, but maybe I don't want to emphasize on the donating money part because that's easy and people do that. I want to talk about people who have people who are depressed, people who are bored, people who don't know what to do with themselves because they've done it all. They've started companies, they made money, they've had the hedonistic life, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And then you look at them and they're bored. Maybe they are even fucking getting high off drugs. Some of them are killing themselves. But you have the capacity to help people. Think about everybody that kills themselves because they're depressed and bored. But they had money and they had time. And they could have just went and helped people. You would think it would be the pinnacle of Maslow's hierarchy of needs where, self-actualization or just helping people would be
Actually, sometimes volunteering makes you more depressed.
But is that what you think is happening with those people who are not?
I don't know. But I'm saying seeing the struggles of other people does not always leave you with a good impact.
Interesting.
Being exposed to the injustice of this world, being exposed to the harshness that other people have to go through, their life circumstances, their life stories, it leaves you with a huge impact, and it's not always good. Yeah. It's not always good, but some moments, my mom does it because she loves it. She loves seeing she loves the fact that she is changing the lives of so many kids, and she sees it every single day. This is what keeps her going.
Right. Yeah.
I volunteer with her whenever that was before, whenever I had the time, but I don't have the same passion for it that she does, and because we're just, again, different people. different
done
things
enough of
make
it,
you,
though.
different things make you tick, make you want to do more, make you so.
I mean, you've done some of it. I don't know. So my point is, like, I look up to people who have done even a little bit of it, because most people live, as you said, hustling, changing jobs, getting promoted, starting companies. And then you go, we all know that there are volunteering opportunities out there and a lot of people to help. And if you talk to anyone, including myself, like you don't know what to do with your time. Like you're bored. Like you're kind of like, you go help people. Like it's such an obvious thing. And then a lot of people are like, you know what? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But maybe like they kick the can on it. And I'm one of those people. I'm almost like, there's a bit of therapy here, I guess. I don't know. But like I'm looking for inspiration also for others who are listening, who know that volunteering exists and they don't do it. And I'm hoping to find the secret recipe, the secret trigger that would get people like myself and others who have the capacity to get off their asses and do some volunteering work. It feels gratifying. We've done it. We know it does. It is gratifying. And I just...
Have you done it in your adult life?
Not in an active manner, no. And I guess...
That's why you don't know how it really feels.
Okay, good point. So you're saying it's one of those things where I should give it a shot and then... Interesting.
Yeah. Because thinking about your high school experience, you were a different person then. You were just doing it to fill in the hours so you graduate. It was like, doing community service in high school is completely different than the kind of volunteering that you would do as an adult in terms of what you bring to the table, in terms of what you will get out of it. The entire thing is different. Yeah.
It almost makes me feel the entrepreneur in me, not necessarily the entrepreneur who wants to make money, but the entrepreneur who wants to do something cool, to create like a try it out initiative.
Yeah.
Not like a full on initiative, just like a try it out initiative.
Yeah.
And like hopefully like 10-20% of those people who are trying it out end up being like, I like it, I want to do more.
Yeah. Like this is what happens.
Yeah.
This is mainly what happens.
It's addictive or contagious, I guess, in that sense. Pretty cool. And I guess on a final note, I wanted to ask you about dogs. You said you like dogs?
I love dogs.
And you have one back in Beirut?
Yes.
So tell me more about your dog.
She's with my parents now.
Okay.
She's adopted. Actually, her name is Corona. Funnily enough.
You adopted it in Corona?
No.
You were having Corona beer?
I named her after the beer.
Really?
Yes, because we have something in the family. Like we name our dogs based on alcohol names. So my aunt, she has Baileys and sake. We have Corona. My cousin had a dog named Kalua, but he died. So we kind of like...
That's cool.
Yeah, we have a trend. She's adopted from Beta. It's an NGO in Lebanon. I've had her for 11 years now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's hard. See, she seems like an old dog. 11 years. What's the breed?
She's mixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
You met Vito today, so
yes.
He's a handful, but I get it when people say like dogs can be a good replacement for kids in many ways, or can fill that place. It's a unique experience. I think I almost wish one of the things I would, like, everybody who doesn't have a pet, or specifically a dog, because I don't think all pets are equal, but that's just my bias.
Yeah.
Should have a dog. Like people should adopt, go out there, get a dog, go through the poop picking and the pillow biting and all that.
I think it's two things. A person that does not have a pet will never understand a person who has a pet talking about their pets.
Even if they go over and visit.
Yeah. They can never understand this relationship until they get one.
Yeah.
And I recently experienced this with one of my best friends. She lives here. She has the dog that I take photos with. Richie.
Oh, okay.
Richie the poodle. Yeah, Richie is my best friend's dog. And she never really got, this, why I love my dog so much and the way I talk about her and all of these things until she got Richie, and now she completely understands this. So I find it really hard to make people understand, like people who don't have pets understand this kind of relation that you grow and nurture with a being that is not human, someone you don't even communicate in a language with. But the other thing is, I think people don't understand how much a responsibility a dog is, especially a dog. I'm not talking about a cat or birds. Like, all pets are huge responsibilities, and there are lives, that we should really take care of. But dogs specifically, they are a lot of work, and a huge responsibility. And if you're not ready for that, don't take it on. Don't buy a dog and then just leave him at home alone. Don't give him or her enough attention. End up putting them in shelter. Dogs get depressed. They're
so domesticated. They're so human-like. They're
amazing,
incredible. And you're right. So on the one hand, I would love for any person feeling lonely, feeling like they don't have a purpose, to have a dog or a pet, or specifically a dog, because it really helps fill that void in many ways.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, don't do it if you're not going to actually have... Like I unfortunately had a dog who was a shelter dog, raised her from 8 weeks old until she was a year and a half old, and then I had to leave the country. Initially I had to travel back and forth. Unfortunately, I had this amazing pet sitter. Her name is Bianca. Shout out to Bianca, who today is still raising Stella. She's 6 years old. Stella.
Yeah. See, Stella.
Yeah. She was actually named after the beer. But yeah, it could be life-changing having a dog, especially if you invest the time to train them and you can actually talk to them. Like Vito now is an icon. He's like our life revolves around him, truly, and it's okay. You know, we don't mind the inconvenience. But like I can talk to Vito. I can tell him like, go get this toy. He gets the toy. It's like, no, not this toy. Go get the other toy. He understands. He knows that there's different toys. You know.
Do you know Bunny on Instagram?
Oh, is he the border collie who knows 1,000 different toys?
The dog that talks with the buttons.
Oh no!
What about Bunny?
I think I've seen a snippet of that one.
Okay, you should follow What About Bunny.
Okay, what's the breed?
I don't know actually, but your entire mind will be blown, and when you realize like the depth of the thinking and communication that dogs can actually do. It's like I watch her videos and I'm like always in shock every time she uploads a new video. I can't believe like the dog would go there in their mind and their thinking. And not only that, like she's able to communicate that now in English. Not only...
What language was the original language?
No, I mean, she thinks in dog language. Oh,
yeah.
But
so
like
English. I thought maybe she understands... Like, there are some dogs who get, like, different...
No, but the buttons are English.
Oh, of course.
So she spells out sentences now.
That's fascinating.
It's really amazing.
Awesome. Rawan, final words of wisdom, because I think you've posted quite a few things on your LinkedIn, and it's hard to summarize them all. If you have to choose like 3 different things you want to leave the listeners with, I don't know if it's about the women stuff or if it's about career, what would you leave your listeners with?
I think 2 main things, actually. Be the person you want to be, regardless of anyone tells you to, or what society expects you to be. Find that thing that makes you want to live and do that. Regardless. And the other thing would be live and let live. Yeah. You know, be who you want to be, live how you want to live, and let others live the way they want to live and do what they want to do. And I think like if everyone does that, we would have a much better functioning society.
Words of wisdom from Rawan Kayat, everyone. Thank you so much. You should show up on more podcasts, by the way. You're a natural.
Thank you.
And you've definitely made me realize how happy I am to have the podcast. You know, having a guest like you. Really appreciate you coming on the show and for your insights. And hope to have you again soon.
Akid.
That's a wrap.